Israel. We know this. We know that Erdogan is partnering with al-Jawlani in Syria, and you can expect to see the Turkish support Hamas in Gaza, and you can expect to see Turkey support and also train ISIS in Syria, because eventually they want to have an invasion through the Golan Heights, and they want to be able to they really want to have like a dual invasion. They want to have Hamas invade again, kind of like an October 7th style attack through the Gaza border. And then they, of course, want Jawlani's forces, which is ISIS, to invade through Golan. And ultimately, Turkey's goal is to completely conquer Israel, to completely conquer Jerusalem. And they want to... They view Erdogan, I think Erdogan really views himself as the leader of this global Islamic caliphate, as the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so when you have administration officials talking about how, oh, Erdogan is so amazing, he's so great, he's so this, he's such a wonderful guy. And you have Tom Barak, who is ambassador to Turkey and envoy to Syria, talking about how amazing Jawlani is and talking about how amazing Erdogan is. Well, what is Israel really supposed to do? What would the United States do if they were in Israel's position? If you had all these neighbors around you talking about how they wanted to invade you and they wanted to conquer Jerusalem, and then on top of that, they're firing missiles into Israel, like just completely indiscriminately trying to kill as many people as possible, blowing up residential areas, no regard for human life whatsoever. They're never going to actually have a full-blown ceasefire because, as I just said, anybody can look this up. You can look it up. If you are an Islamic sympathizer, you're going to make excuses. You're going to say there's good Muslims, there's bad Muslims, there's radical Muslims. You can't just group them all together, Laura. You can't just group all Muslims together. If you are one of those people that talks like that, you are too far gone, okay? You are too far gone, and your mind is too warped to actually understand these concepts, and they're real, and people need to actually take the time to read the Quran, to understand Islamic law, to understand the concept of a hudna, so that you can familiarize yourself with Islamic lawfare and how Muslims in particular prepare for future acts of aggression on their adversaries. And in Islam, I know our Secretary of War understands this because he literally has the word infidel tattooed on his body. Every non-Muslim is an adversary. They don't just view countries like the United States does as adversarial nations. No, they view all non-Muslims as their adversary. Now, we can go to the chat, take a couple questions, get people's comments on this, but, I just can't help but roll my eyes personally. I love President Trump. I support the Trump administration, but every single time I see something new about, oh, we're going to bring it back to the table, go back to the table, let's work out a deal. I mean, come on, it's just getting so old. Let's just get this over with. We just need to bomb Iran. The only thing that these Islamic savages in Iran and the Islamic regime of Iran understand is force and brutality. And if we do not deal with this threat while Donald Trump is president, look, we are not going to have a pro-America, pro-Israel president in the future. The radical left is completely communist. If you are a communist, you hate America. I mean, you can't be pro-America and be a communist. It just doesn't work that way. And now you have a lot of people on the right who are incredibly anti-Israel, and they don't really seem to care about the fact that we have joint intel relationships with Israel. They provide intelligence to us. They are on the front lines in Gaza. They are on the front lines with the border in Egypt. They are on the front lines in the border in Lebanon and the border in Syria. And they're really the first to shed blood in the event of Middle Eastern conflict. And so the Israelis are actually shedding a lot of blood for Americans. And I find the bias in the media towards Israel, and I find that the obsessive nature that people have developed over these last few years since October 7th towards Israel, they really tend to show such a lack of appreciation and gratitude for the blood that Israelis have spilled for Americans. And maybe you have to go to Israel and see this for yourself to believe it. I don't really understand why this isn't conveyed more. But this idea that we're just giving aid out and it's like a welfare check to Israel and we're not getting anything in return is completely absurd. They're shedding blood for us. And they're also providing us with a lot of valuable intelligence and a lot of security in the Middle East. As I said before, on the border of these countries where violence is going to erupt in the event that, you know, these more radical elements start to have a greater presence within the Middle East, which is what's happening right now, because I think we can all agree that this Middle Eastern strategy and the Middle Eastern policy out of this administration is not working. So I am a supporter of the president's, but I will say that I'm very disappointed in the way that this is being handled because, well, you can't negotiate with terrorists. I'm just looking back on all these old tweets that President Trump posted back in 2014, and we can even pull some of these tweets up. And he criticized Barack Hussein Obama for negotiating with the Iranians and said that it would end in nothing but a disaster. So how is negotiating with Iran now, knowing that they act in bad faith and they've been getting away with murder, they've been getting away with terrorizing the entire world over the last 47 years. What is going to change now unless we just go in there and bomb the shit out of the IRGC and eliminate all of these Islamic radicals who, you know, they want to oppress the people of Iran and they want to keep on threatening Israel. They want to keep on threatening the United States of America. As we're negotiating, you have Iranian officials mocking Donald Trump and posting I guess you could call it like AI generated images or memes, although it's not really a meme. It's a direct threat to the president's life, posting these images of missiles hitting the White House or missiles hitting Mar-a-Lago or, you know, President Trump with blood splattered everywhere. So the Iranians and their embassies are actively threatening the life of our own president. They're threatening our country and they're also threatening Israel while we sit here and we say, oh, back to the drawing board. We're going to continue negotiating. You can't negotiate with Iran. You just can't. Negotiating with the Iranian terrorists, negotiating with the IRGC is literally the same thing as negotiating with ISIS. It is. It's the same exact thing because they're terrorists at the end of the day. They terrorize their own people. They've been terrorizing the world for the last 47 years, and they're going to continue. And if Donald Trump, as I said before, doesn't address this under his administration, well, oof, God forbid a Democrat takes over, Iran is just going to have complete leniency to do whatever they want, and we will face an existential threat of nuclear war. We will, because they have no problem threatening to use nuclear weapons against both Israel and the United States of America. Here from 2013. Remember, I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled. Well, you know, Iran is now threatening to attack our country, so I think it's justified to attack. But we have other tweets from President Trump where he talks about how it would be an absolute disaster. He said that it would be an absolute disaster, and you know, people are reposting these tweets, and rightfully so, from 2014, because why would it not be a disaster now to negotiate with the Iranians? You can't negotiate with these people. You cannot negotiate with Islamic terrorists. I want to get people's thoughts on this in the chat. What would you do differently, Laura? Keep in mind that you do not know as much as President Trump. Yeah, sure. I know President Trump is getting access to intel that we are not getting access to. But what is actually happening through these so-called negotiations? Iran is still firing missiles at Israel. Iran is still firing missiles at our military bases throughout the Middle East. And this is while we're negotiating in good faith. So clearly they do not want to negotiate. I think that what I would be doing differently is I would just be bombing every single IRGC facility, bombing and killing every single IRGC member that I could, because that's the only way that this threat is going to be eliminated. You have to kill these people. And unfortunately, civilians do die in war. They do. Sometimes civilians die in war. It's very unfortunate. But when our troops sign up to join our military, they sign up knowing that they might have to pay the ultimate sacrifice. Now, I don't want our troops to die. I certainly don't want American troops to have to be deployed and die. However, that is what they signed up to do, knowing the risk and knowing the potential sacrifice that would need to be made. And as I said before, if we do not deal with the threat of a nuclear Iran now and a terrorist regime led Iran now, what are we going to be faced with in the future? As the multipolarity movement increases and continues to gain more strength, you have all these other nations working against America, trying to undermine and undo President Trump's legacy. They will provide nuclear weapons to the Iranians if the Iranians aren't able to create nuclear weapons themselves. So who is going to be victimized by those nuclear weapons? Well, of course, it's going to be the West. It's going to be the United States of America, and it's going to be Israel. We've seen this play out before. We've seen this play out before. Cowgirl 1 said, most likely Trump just wants to be able to say that I tried to negotiate and whatever happens is their fault. Okay, yeah, he's tried. It's not like the president hasn't fulfilled his promises. He said that he doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. He destroyed their nuclear facilities, okay? He destroyed the nuclear facilities. And he has given them enough chances. The world can see the record and can see the facts for themselves. We all have seen President Trump trying to be diplomatic with the Iranians, even though they don't deserve diplomacy. They really honestly don't. They don't deserve to be negotiated with because they're terrorists, and we do not negotiate with terrorists. However, there's not going to be any negotiation in the end. There's not going to be a negotiation because in the mind of the Islamist regime in Iran, the only thing that would be suitable for them is the complete annihilation of Israel and the complete annihilation of the United States of America, because this is a Sharia supremacist country. This is an Islamic supremacist country. And if you don't understand Islamic law and Islamic theology, you are not going to understand the mindset of somebody within the IRGC. So look, if that's what President Trump is thinking, I think that everybody has seen the president try to negotiate in good faith as much as he can, but the Iranians, it takes two to tango, and the Iranians clearly are not negotiating in good faith. And so if the president were to bomb Iran, it would be completely justified. He has already exhausted every single negotiating play left on this board. And the only thing left is to start killing these IRGC members. You have to have the mindset of you have to be willing to kill or be killed. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to be willing to kill or be killed, because that's what we're facing. We're not going to have somebody who is as pro-America and anti-Islamic terror after Donald Trump. You see that there's a movement on the right, clearly. Call it the woke right. I call it the halal right as well. You have the halal right and you have the woke right. The woke right will make up crazy conspiracies about Jews, make up crazy conspiracies about Israel, and they will, just spew anti-Semitism 24/7. The halal right and many members of the woke right are basically turning into members of the halal right. The halal right are these people on the right that like to use their hatred of Jewish people and use their hatred of Israel to prop up Islam, or to make it like a moral equivalency, to say that Islam is actually a more natural ally to Christianity or Catholicism than Judaism is. And so you may have noticed that you have a lot of influencers or media pundits right now, specifically look at Megyn Kelly and look at Tucker Carlson, propping up Islam and demonizing people on the right, particularly demonizing conservatives, even though this is what we voted for. We were anti-Islam. We were anti-Islamic terror. We did vote for President Trump to bomb and kill terrorists. Every single time President Trump would give a speech or a rally, he said, we're going to bomb the shit out of Islamic terrorists. But now all of a sudden people are like, oh, you can't bomb and kill terrorists. You have to talk to these people. You have to negotiate with these people. There's no negotiating with these people. So that's why I called them the halal right, because there's this element within the right wing now that has been completely co-opted, clearly very inorganically, by these Islamic interests. And they're the ones that are calling everybody who wants to bomb Iran Israel first. Well, you're not Israel first if you want to make sure that the Iranians are never going to be able to have a nuclear weapon, and that the Iranians aren't going to somehow get or obtain a nuclear weapon in the future and then use it against the United States or use it against Israel or use it against the Western world in general. So those people have a very self-destructive mindset, because if you are a member of the woke right or you are a member of the halal right, you are saying that to be politically correct is more important to you, or to embrace Islam is more important than your own survival. And so those are the people that are setting us up to get attacked in a very vicious manner, in a very lethal manner when Donald Trump is out of office, because Iran is going to smell weakness because, well, there aren't a lot of strong leaders in the GOP outside of Donald Trump, and they will use that weakness to attack our country. And it's going to be disastrous. A lot of Americans are going to die. We have a lot of these sleeper cells acting on behalf of Iran, or acting on behalf of Iranian proxies and Hamas or the Muslim Brotherhood, or acting on behalf of ISIS here in the United States of America. And these people are in these little terror cells all throughout our country. And don't think for 1 second that they're not willing to activate at a moment's notice. I mean, we just had a very big terror plot get completely busted by the DOJ and the FBI. We can go ahead and pull this indictment up right now, and this press release from the DOJ. But what we have right now is a catastrophic national security emergency that is not just in the Middle East, with the, in my opinion, disastrous handling of the Iranians. And it is disastrous because while President Trump has good intentions, and he clearly doesn't want civilians to die, and he obviously doesn't want a prolonged war, you cannot describe this as anything but disastrous. I'm not saying Donald Trump is a disaster, but this whole concept of negotiating with Iranian terrorists is a disaster. It is a disaster, and it's going to continue to be a disaster over time. You cannot negotiate with terrorists. This is a long-standing U.S. national security policy. We do not negotiate with terrorists. But unfortunately, we're seeing that not only do we negotiate with terrorists, but we praise terrorists, which is bizarre as well. So I saw some questions earlier in the chat, like, how do you think the Trump administration is doing? What is your overall assessment? I'd say things were going well. But I'm, like I said before, every single day when I see a new report about Iran and how the administration is handling it, I personally think that President Trump should not be listening to these naysayers that say, oh, don't bomb Iran, try to negotiate. Negotiate with who? The IRGC that's chanting death to America? How do you negotiate with Islamic terrorists that plotted to assassinate your own daughter? I mean, what are we doing here? The IRGC, there was just a story that broke the other day, and the DOJ had to comment on it as well. You can pull it up. The IRGC was plotting to assassinate Ivanka Trump. And these are IRGC operatives in Europe and the United States of America. You can see here, let's get a news report. Let's get a news report pulled up here. Here we go, the New York Post. Ivanka Trump targeted for assassination by IRGC terrorists in twisted plot to avenge president taking out his mentor. Okay, so this story just came out 2 weeks ago. Why is it that we're not retaliating against Iran with the full force of our military, when not only are they trying to kill the president of the United States, we already know that Iran has plotted to assassinate Donald Trump 2 to 3 times now, 2 to 3 times. Hard to keep up with how many times. Okay, we've had Iranian operatives who have literally been charged and indicted in courts in New York City for plotting to assassinate Donald Trump. And since they didn't get a successful plot in their assassination attempt on Donald Trump, now they're moving on to his children and his family members. So why is it that we would be negotiating with these people? The people that want to kill not just Donald Trump, but also kill his children and kill American citizens. It's not going to work. It's not going to work because they don't view any ceasefire agreement or any type of negotiation as acceptable unless it somehow enables them or allows them to continue to pursue their goal of total Islamic conquest throughout the entire world. So I don't think that we should be negotiating anymore. Iran has already had enough chances. This kind of reminds me of when we kept on negotiating with Hamas. You better release all these hostages or else you got 24 hours. Oh, we're going to give you another 72 hours. When you don't keep your word with Islamic terrorists, they're not going to take you seriously. And now I kind of feel like, President Trump has really tried his hardest to negotiate with these people in good faith, but they're taking advantage of him. They're clearly taking advantage of Donald Trump and the fact that he truly is the peace president. He doesn't want people to die in a war, but people may need to die in a war. People may need to die in order for this Islamic Republic of Iran to be completely dismantled, to prevent millions of Americans being slaughtered in the future in the event that Iran attacks us with a nuclear weapon. A nuclear weapon that's either given to them by Russia or some other adversarial nation. And they're on the record openly talking about this, openly saying this. We have the clip of Dugin talking about this. He is an advisor to Vladimir Putin. I've talked about this on the show extensively in the past. Or whether it's the Iranians themselves creating their own nuclear weapons, regardless of whether they make it or whether some other nation gives it to them or sells it to them. The reality is we are clearly in the middle of a catastrophic national security emergency. And this has implications both inside our borders because of all the proxies here that haven't been deported, because we have so many Islamic sympathizers and people who took bribes from Islamists in the form of lobby contracts. And I call it a bribe because, well, you know, nothing good ever comes out of lobbying for an Islamic nation. And so, you know, you had former DHS Secretary Kirsty Noem traveling to Qatar, meeting with the Qataris. You have our own FBI Director, Kash Patel, who was a Qatari lobbyist. Then you have Mark Wayne Mullen, who was the senator for Oklahoma, who's now the new DHS Secretary, traveling over New Year's to go meet with the Qataris. So is it any wonder why any of these Islamic operatives who are living within our country haven't been deported, or they're stalling the deportation of a lot of these Islamic terrorists who are operating within our borders? It's a conflict of interest, and it poses a grave national security threat. And if they don't address this soon, we're never going to get these people out of our country, because the Democrats are never going to do it. And unfortunately, whoever's going to be president next in the GOP will probably be pandering to this woke right element within the GOP that wants to align with jihadi terrorists. And I'm not making this up. You know, people will say, oh, you know, this sounds so crazy. Let's go to the chat, you know, see what people are saying, because they haven't seen this. They're not showing you these clips on TV. They're not. They're not showing you these clips. So again, this is Alexander Dugin. He's an advisor to Vladimir Putin. This is the guy who was just at the conference in St. Petersburg, Russia this last week that Candace Owens spoke at. And here he is back in March of this year talking about how the West needs to be destroyed. His whole thing is the West needs to be destroyed. The East is rising, right? A lot of the same talking points that Candace was reiterating, surprise, surprise, while she was in Russia. So this is 3 months ago. This is 3 months ago. This guy is propping up every single member of the woke right. Even Tucker Carlson flew to Russia and interviewed him and Vladimir Putin, okay? So this isn't just some mundane statement or innocuous statement made by some random foreigner. No, this is a guy who has his tentacles plugged into many of the podcasters here in the United States. He has direct relationships with them. And here he is 3 months ago giving an interview talking about how Russia is going to give Iran nuclear weapons so that they can destroy America, and that Russia is happy to give nuclear weapons to Iran to destroy any country in the West because they want to destroy the West. And then we're sitting here and we're told that we are warmongers because we want Trump to finish the job. We are Israel first because we want Donald Trump to finish the job. We are America last because we don't want to die in a nuclear holocaust, and we want the Islamic regime of Iran to be completely uprooted before they kill us. Again, kill or be killed. Take a listen to this clip. Take a listen to this clip and know that this is a guy who is in communication with a lot of the most popular podcasters in America right now. And they are trying to convince Americans that this is good for America, that this is good for the world. And you have a lot of people buying into this. You have a lot of people buying into this because, look, even our own former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, is now spewing Iranian propaganda. He's writing op-eds and publications that are tied to the Quincy Institute, which, of course, is run mostly by Trita Parsi, an Iranian national. So even our own intel officials, even our own so-called former counterterrorism officials under the Trump administration have been working against our own national security and our own best interest as Americans because, well, unfortunately, they relied on the whole concept of good vibes when they decided to hire a lot of these inept people. And it was like, oh, very, very vibes-based hiring process. Oh, yeah, he's friends with Tulsi. Oh, yeah, Tulsi likes him. Roger likes him. Oh, this person's my friend. I don't really give a shit who's your friend in this administration. I care about whether or not you have our best interests, whether you're trustworthy, and whether you're going to not be leaking information to our adversaries and running complete psyops. And I guess you could actually call it not just a psyop, but it's an active measure is really what it is. It is an active measure being carried out by operatives who are no better than these deep state career individuals who work at the CIA. They are active measure operatives. People like Joe Kent. He's engaged in an active measure on the Trump administration. And when they defend Iran, this is what they're defending. They're defending this multipolar axis, this alliance that exists with people who quite literally want to destroy America by eradicating every single American that lives in this country through nuclear war. And that is not an exaggeration. You're going to listen to this clip right now and hear it in Alexander Dugin's own words. And so just know this is who the Iranians are negotiating with and who they're talking to, as the United States, in my opinion, foolishly tries to negotiate an agreement with a hostile Islamic regime that literally wants to destroy Western civilization and implement an Islamic caliphate in the world. So let's go ahead and play this clip.
And we are going to distribute nuclear weapon to everybody who can use it against the West. So I think we are going to supply all kind of strategical weapon to all enemies of American hegemony, Western hegemony against NATO, starting from Middle East to the Far East, to North America. We are going to war. And we are going to distribute nuclear weapon to everybody who can use it against the West. So I think we are going to supply all kind of strategical weapon to all enemies of American hegemony, Western hegemony against NATO, starting from Middle East to the Far East, to North America. We are going to war.
We are going to war. We are providing nuclear weapons to anybody that wants to destroy America. I mean, did you hear that all right? Did you hear that? Did you hear that clearly? That's what's happening. And so while we're wasting our time negotiating with an Islamic terrorist regime, our adversaries are plotting to sell and provide these Islamic adversaries with nuclear weapons because they want to go to war. They want to use nuclear weapons against America. Okay. We have people telling us that we need to negotiate because not all Muslims are the same. You're being an Islamophobe. You're being an Islamophobe while the Iranians are purchasing nuclear weapons from the Russians so that they can kill Americans. But you're an Islamophobe if you point that out, you guys. You're not allowed to talk about that. Let's go to the chat. A couple more questions. Let's see. Bartek Husboy said, what is it going to take for this country to unite on this? Iran lighting a nuke off inside our borders? Well, by then it's going to be too late because we're all going to die. But again, it's insanity. And this is why they need to reopen the FARA office over at the DOJ, is because how many of these so-called influencers and pundits actually believe the bullshit that they're peddling right now on their podcast to people? How many of these people actually truly believe that, well, we're going to actually negotiate with the Iranians, and the Iranians are actually really great. And, it's really wonderful. They're just such an advanced society. And, I asked the president of Iran on my podcast whether he tried to assassinate Donald Trump, and he said no. And, I believe him. And so it doesn't matter that this is a terrorist regime that chants death to America. I mean, of course, I'm talking about Tucker Carlson here. This is a real interview that he did. He had one of the presidents of Iran, he had President of Iran on his show, and he said, oh, so is it true that Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump, or is that just all made up? And he let the president of Iran say, oh, that was all made up. We never tried to assassinate Donald Trump, even though they have clear-cut evidence that Iran has tried to assassinate Donald Trump on multiple occasions. And so I'm sure we could actually pull this up. I mean, look, there's the clip right here. I don't understand how you could gaslight your audience so much. We'll play the clip for you momentarily, but how can you really unite with these people? I'm not going to unite with people like Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly. I mean, look at the drivel that they're spewing, saying that, oh, life is better in Russia, and oh, Iran never tried to assassinate Donald Trump. So I guess our own intel agencies and these court filings that show that the Iranians recruited individuals to assassinate Donald Trump here on U.S. soil, I guess that's all just made up, right? It's all completely made up. And the assassination threat against Ivanka Trump must be, well, completely made up, according to Tucker Carlson, because, well, we're going to trust the word of a genocidal Islamic regime that chants death to America and murders people and literally hangs children from cranes and kills them in the public square in Tehran if they criticize the Islamic regime. They jail women, they beat women, they kill women if they don't comply with wearing a hijab. But, well, we're going to take the word of this guy. This is what we're going to do. So you were asking in your question whether we can unite. What's it going to take for us to unite? Can you really see yourself uniting with somebody like this? Let's go ahead and play the clip.
Has Iran ever backed an assassination attempt against Donald Trump?
This is actually what Netanyahu is trying to insinuate and to make your people or the president of your country to believe. But this is wrong because Netanyahu, as I said, has its own agenda. It wants to drag the U.S. into forever wars, as I said, and to bring more insecurity, instability, and unrest to the whole region.
There are some large number of Iranian nationals living in the United States. Some have said they are, quote, sleeper cells. They are terrorists who are acting at the command of your government. Would you right now make a statement to Iranian citizens living in the United States not to commit acts of violence in the United States?
You see, these things you're telling me, this is the first time I'm hearing them from you or from anybody. The Iranians are known for their knowledge, for their science, for their courtesy, for being civilized. Have you seen otherwise from them? Any other kind of behavior from them or any violent behavior? Has anybody ever seen anything from them? Yeah, as I said, this is what Israel is trying to put into your minds. They are propagating that Iranians might be capable of doing such a thing, but this is totally untrue because by nature Iranians are pro peace and tranquility, and they're trying to actually make to somehow impact the minds of the decision makers and the people of the United States and to scare them into getting involved in a war in my region that is not going to ensure any kind of interest for the United States. It is not to be in the interest of the United States to be involved in any kind of war in my region.
And you have all of these type of operatives too now that are trying to, make it seem like Israel protecting itself. And this is not an Israel first perspective. Trying to make it seem like Israel protecting itself. Look at that interview with Tucker Carlson, for example. And they like to use Israel is like this kind of monkey in the middle, right? That they throw back for the sake of having someone to blame as opposed to taking responsibility. So you hear him say, Iran is focused on being peaceful and we're actually a peaceful country. Then they say Netanyahu wants President Trump to go to war with Iran. What does that have to do with Iran threatening to assassinate Donald Trump? Answer the question. Did you or did you not try to assassinate Donald Trump? But everything just kind of turns into this blame Israel campaign or blame Bibi Netanyahu campaign. And then you have Israel sitting here that, you know, they become the punching bag. They've been the punching bag ever since October 7th. And what is Israel supposed to do? Would we tolerate that? If somebody was firing missiles into the United States of America, would the United States of America tolerate the Iranians going online and bragging about how, oh, I thought you said that you intercepted the missiles. You didn't intercept our missiles. We actually destroyed some residential buildings. So you can see what's happening. They're bragging about it right now on X. I mean, pulling all this stuff up right now. It's all happening in real time. Let's go ahead and get this up right now. This is the Iranian embassy in South Africa. All these Iranian embassies like to subtweet each other and retweet each other. And you can scroll down. And you see here clearly June 7th, 2026, 3:03 p.m. Scroll up. So Israel said that they intercepted the missiles, and then they're playing this video. They said, you said you intercepted all the missiles, right? With a little cool face emoji. Tucker just takes it all in, lets the Iranian president say whatever he wants to say, well, we want peace. Does that look like peace to you? Celebrating the fact that you're firing missiles into residential areas and killing civilians? Does that look like peace to you? So we're getting gaslit by the woke right influencers who, you know, they're being amplified all over social media. All these foreign governments are paying millions of dollars to amplify the content of the woke right online. It's everywhere. Even if you block these people and even if you don't subscribe to these people, it's all over the place. And then you have idiots like Barack Ravid, who is on Twitter saying, oh, Trump tells me he will ask Netanyahu not to strike back at Iran. Well, how are we supposed to have negotiations if we're just going to allow for Israel to be pummeled by ballistic missiles and we're not going to allow for Israel to defend itself? And then we're going to allow for the Iranians, while they're lying to the entire world, while they're playing the Trump administration, while they're wasting time for members of the Trump administration, and then they're bragging about it on social media as President Trump has to waste his entire weekend talking about how, okay, you fired your missiles, enough is enough. Why are we giving them an excuse to fire their missiles? Enough is enough. They've been doing this the entire time throughout this whole bullshit fake negotiation process. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You're never going to get anywhere negotiating with terrorists. Even Donald Trump, the best deal maker of all time, I don't think that even Donald Trump would be able to get the Iranians to come to the table to agree to a permanent ceasefire. And that's not Donald Trump's fault. That is not a deficiency in Donald Trump. That has nothing to do with a lack of, strong foreign policy in this administration. That has everything to do with Islamic law. That has everything to do with Islam and the concept of a hudna. And so Donald Trump is just wasting his time. You're never going to get the Iranians to negotiate, not because you're not a strong leader, not because you're not a good president, not because you're not capable of bringing world leaders to the table. He's brought all types of world leaders to the table to have deals with each other. But we're not dealing with normal nations. We're dealing with a bloodthirsty Islamic regime that wants Islamic supremacy, not just in Iran, but throughout the entire world. And I think that the American people are now starting to get sick of this because it's like, okay, we've had enough time, and it's no fault of Donald Trump. President Trump has given them enough chances. I know that he doesn't want to be accused of being a warmonger. I know that the president wants to be the president of peace. But look, we've all seen it. We've all seen Donald Trump come to the table and offer a negotiation or offer a deal multiple times. Every week, it's another new goddamn deal. Okay, it's another new goddamn deal every single week. And we're not going to get anywhere playing these games with the Iranians. We're going to keep on negotiating with the Iranians until one day, right, they are going to obtain a nuclear weapon, and then it's going to be game over and too late. And with the way that I said before, the GOP is being totally co-opted by a lot of these, very Islamo-commie friendly or Islamo-commie adjacent people, it's kind of weird to see, right? Horseshoe theories playing out in real time. You have a lot of people in the GOP now that are starting to sympathize with Islam because they are being fed propaganda on a daily basis from their favorite podcasters. And my biggest worry is what's going to happen 5 years from now or so, maybe even sooner, when Trump's out of office and Iran does have a nuclear weapon. Are we going to have an Islamo-sympathizing president in the White House? Are we going to have a Democrat who has completely allowed for and enabled the Islamification of America to continue? Are they going to allow for Iran to nuke the West or allow for Iran to nuke the United States of America? Are they going to allow for Iranian sleeper cells to run wild in our country? Because that is what is at stake here. Kill or be killed. And I genuinely worry about what's going to happen when Donald Trump is out of office, because they're not going to have any respect for anybody who says, okay, well, we're going to make a deal. The Iranians are just going to use their force to attack our country, and there's not going to be any deal making because they, as I said before, when you have an understanding of this Islamic ideology, you come to quickly realize that there's nothing within this ideology that is geared towards peace. They talk about how, Islam means peace. Islam means submission. It's peaceful. No, this is all about establishing an ummah, a one world Islamic order. And we are really facing this existential threat. We see it all across our country. You see the election of Islamic jihadists. They're not going to care. You think that these Islamic members of Congress are going to care when the Iranians try to attack our country in the future with missiles or nuclear weapons? Do you think that we're going to have pro-America representatives if you have a Congress full of Ilhan Omar's and Rashida Tlaib's and AOC's and Zohran Mamdani's and Adam Hamawi's and Abdul al-Sayed's? We are witnessing the ultimate decline of the United States of America right now. And the only way that we are going to be able to reverse this is if we get serious with deporting these terror cells throughout our country that are plotting to mass murder American citizens and also plotting to murder U.S. troops. And if we have another permanent Islamic travel ban in our country, if we start to actually take the threat of the Muslim Brotherhood seriously, if we start to shut down a lot of these Islamic 501c3s, and if we bomb Iran, because ultimately, if we don't do those things, we are going to turn into the UK within the next 3 years. It's inevitable. And everybody wants to talk about how bad the UK is, where the entire country has essentially been taken over by jihadists, and their version of their DHS secretary is a Muslim woman who goes to jihadi parades and chants globalize the Intifada. We are probably about 3 years away from transforming into the United Kingdom. And that's coming from me as a diehard Trump supporter. I mean, that's what I see right now. And that's what I'm preparing for. I am basically preparing for the United States of America to look like the UK in the next 3 years, because we're not seeing a full-fledged deportation effort against these proxies that are plotting these terror cells in America. And as the Iranians continue to make a fool of our country by disrespecting us and disrespecting Donald Trump throughout this negotiation process, who is becoming emboldened? These jihadi terror cells in our country. So I don't need to make this up on my own. I have stories and I have reports here from this week, from yesterday, to highlight, to show you the evidence of this. So as we are negotiating with Islamic terrorists, and Islamic terrorists are firing missiles at our troops in the Middle East, the DOJ and the FBI just announced the arrest of a multi-state ISIS cell. Here we go. This just came out 2 days ago. 3 arrests in Kansas and California. 3 arrested in Kansas and California charged with plot to support ISIS. 3 U.S. citizens allegedly discussed violent attacks and tried to develop a cryptocurrency scheme to buy RPGs and drones to attack U.S. service members. All right. Early this morning, the FBI arrested 3 men in Kansas City, San Diego, and Sacramento, California, on charges that they conspired to provide material support to the Islamic State of Iraq and al-Sham ISIS, a designated foreign terrorist organization. Notice how they won't even say a designated Islamic terrorist organization, right? So our country is already being co-opted by the Islamic interests that seek to destroy our nation. This is the type of stuff we used to call the Obama administration out for. So I don't know why we should be giving anybody here any kind of pass. This is what we used to call out Obama for. The watering down of Islamic terror. A designated foreign terrorist organization. No, it's a designated Islamic terrorist organization. And it's not just foreign, because our own FBI has told us that ISIS is now present in all 50 United States. You got to pay attention to the semantics here and the way that our government agencies try to gaslight you into thinking that this threat isn't as real as it is. It is. And this story has barely received any news coverage. A lot of people are in the chat right now saying, I never even heard about this. This just happened 2 days ago. Bassam Ghafoor of Leawood, Kansas. These are all 21-year-olds and 25-year-olds. They were arrested on a complaint filed in the District of Kansas for conspiring to provide material support to terrorism after collectively providing over $2,000 to an individual they understood to be a member of ISIS. As detailed in the complaint in various messaging exchanges, Ghafoor exclaimed that it would be sick, it'd be so cool, yeah, amazing, if his name could be written on the drone used in an attack on American citizens. Diazi, I don't even know how you pronounce that. Again, as I say, if I can't pronounce your name, you do not belong in my country. Suggested that targets of drones should include U.S. Special Forces. In other exchanges, Shams Saldin expressed a desire to stab and injure a U.S. service member. Ghafoor said he always wanted to kill a female soldier by beheading. Such a peaceful religion. And he added, I wish that I could kill 300 million Americans. So essentially nearly the entire population of the United States of America. Got it. So again, we are told that you can't talk about this. Israel's the threat. Israel's the threat. Meanwhile, the Iranians are firing ballistic missiles at our troops. And you have Islamic terrorists feeling emboldened, and they now want to actually raise money to purchase RPGs to attack U.S. soldiers and use drones to kill American service members. And these are so-called Americans, right? So again, this is what happens. You allow these Islamic immigrants into our country. They have children, or, maybe they become U.S. citizens. And now we have a lot of people in our country, unfortunately, who they got citizenship. And that's a big problem, because now we're going to have to talk about denaturalizing a lot of people in our country who are immigrants, who somehow obtained citizenship, even though they are part of terror networks and they fantasize about openly killing American citizens. But we're not seeing that. I mean, show me where the Department of Homeland Security or Border Patrol or ICE has mass deported a large amount of Islamic terrorists in our country. I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. This administration has put terrorist cartels and gangs on notice, said Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. Well, now he's going to be the actual Attorney General. Today's arrest of 3 individuals who allegedly conspired to provide material support to ISIS makes clear our commitment to taking down terrorist networks anywhere. Thanks to the vigilance of the FBI, their alleged scheme was dismantled and further acts of violence against U.S. service members were prevented. These subjects allegedly swore allegiance to ISIS, plotted multiple attacks, and even targeted U.S. service members. But the FBI stopped them cold, said FBI Director Kash Patel. The success of this op shows once again that this FBI's continued record of stopping terrorist attacks before they happen simply the best way to defend the homeland, and shows we'll stop at nothing to defend Americans from those who seek to do us harm. According to the complaint, these defendants conspired to support ISIS, a ruthless terrorist organization, with the intent, among other things, to fund plans to kill American service members abroad, said Assistant Attorney General for National Security John Eisenberg. For years, the Department of Justice has been encouraging Americans that if they see suspicious activity, they should report it to law enforcement. That's because long gone are the days where terrorist threats and attacks are incidents that only take place far away on foreign soil. Unfortunately, we must face the reality of bad actors living within our borders, clandestinely conspiring on ways to create fear and havoc. The only way to root out and prevent terrorism plots is through collaboration among all levels of law enforcement across jurisdictions. Collaborations is what facilitated the arrest of these 3 suspects. Okay, so they admit that we now have these terrorists living on U.S. soil. So if we have these terrorists living on U.S. soil, Why are we enabling them by showing them that we're going to be soft on Iran? And yes, we are being soft on Iran. We are giving them chances to come to the table after they are trying to gaslight everybody and to say, oh, this is Israel's problem. This is Israel's fault, even though they're the ones that are firing missiles into Israel. So Israel's just supposed to sit there and allow for innocent Israelis to be killed. And they're not allowed to attack back because, oh, well, you know, then everybody's going to blame Israel for the lack of a ceasefire, even though these Islamists don't even believe in a ceasefire because it's against their own Islamic ideology. Okay, got it. So I think we have enough intelligent people in this administration, at least I would hope. I know Donald Trump is smart, but some of the people around him should know better than to keep on encouraging prolonged negotiations with Islamic terrorist organizations, okay? Because they've shown us that they're not going to negotiate in good faith. And now this behavior is clearly inspiring other people to attack our service members and activate on U.S. soil. And that's what happens when terrorists seem to think that the United States is in a position of weakness. I don't think that Donald Trump is a weak leader. I think that President Trump is a great president, but I will say that out of everything that has happened thus far, I'm a little disappointed. I'm actually very disappointed in the way that this particular negotiation has been handled, because Donald Trump knows, and he's been speaking about this for years, that you can't negotiate with the Iranians. He was one of the most vocal voices against Barack Hussein Obama and the JCPOA. Remember when Barack Hussein Obama was our president? So what is different now? What is different now? How is this deal going to be better than any kind of deal that Obama made? So that's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. Let's go ahead and get this video played of Todd Blanche. I think he's on Fox News talking about the ISIS bus. It's clip number 1. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
Individuals in Kansas and California that you found, and they were providing material support to ISIS. And the details are quite something. One said it was sick if his name was on a drone that would kill American service members. Another person said they always wanted to kill a female soldier by beheading. I wish I could kill 300 million Americans. These are bad guys, and now they're indicted.
Yes, this is a very disturbing case. You have young men, they're in their 20s, completely indoctrinated by terrorism and by terrorists, and actually spending money to actually follow through on these attacks. Like you just said, one wanted their name written on a drone to kill Americans. One fantasized about killing a female soldier by beheading her. And look, another great example of hardworking FBI agents and our federal prosecutors in California and Kansas and working together. And I'm glad we were able to interject here and stop these men. But it's a good reminder to the Americans that this fight is not over. There are still a lot of people that want to inject harm into this country and our citizens.
No doubt about it. And bringing it domestic.
Now, in other statements, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, he confirmed and he stated, and I'm just going to list off some of these things that he stated so that, you know, maybe you'll draw some parallels to, well, some things that are happening here in America. It's pretty easy to be recruited into homegrown terrorism. He stated that the young men are in their 20s. They were completely indoctrinated by Islamic terrorism, and they spent their actual money, young men in their 20s, to follow through on these attacks on U.S. service members. He then said that investigators found their names directly written on a drone that was intended to kill Americans. Okay, so they actually obtained the drones, alongside graphic fantasies of beheading a female soldier. These are the people living among us. This didn't happen abroad. This is happening here in the United States of America. And unfortunately, they said that these are U.S. citizens. These aren't even just immigrants. They're probably the children of immigrants, right? I'd be willing to bet that all these people are basically first generation after their parents immigrated here from whatever Islamic shithole they came from. And yes, the Trump administration and the Trump Department of Justice was able to stop them, but how many more of these individuals are operating here on U.S. soil? We've already seen over the last several weeks this support at Delaney Hall, where they have the ICE detention center in New Jersey, where people are wearing keffiyehs. Protesters are showing up wearing keffiyehs, throwing smoke bombs, makeshift weapons, and attacking ICE agents. And this has really turned into an Islamic rallying point. You had Abdul al-Sayed. I don't know if we can get that clip pulled up, but you have Hasan Piker that showed up the other day to Delaney Hall wearing a gas mask, and then we confronted Rashida Tlaib about it. You have Hakeem Jeffries showing up, enabling these people. You have Abdul al-Sayed. We can go ahead and we can play a bunch of these clips, but the reality is this isn't going to stop anytime soon, because how do you think that these U.S. citizens, as I described them, are being indoctrinated to join ISIS terror cells in America? Well, they see the Democrats enabling Islamification. You had Hakeem Jeffries just this morning on Fox News pretending like he didn't know that Adam Hamawi, who is this new Democrat that I just spoke about on my show the other day, who just got elected. Well, he got nominated in his primary. He'll be elected though, because the seat is pretty Democrat. So he'll be heading to Congress. This guy advocated for the blind sheikh, right? Co-conspirator, mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing attacks in New York City. This guy worked at a Hamas-controlled hospital in Gaza. All right. This guy is tied to an Al-Qaeda front out of Bosnia. Again, he denies all of his terror ties, but the receipts are there, guys. The receipts are there. And then when pressed about this morning on Fox News, you had Hakeem Jeffries. I don't know if we have this clip. Let's get this pulled up too. There's just so many clips because it's just so absurd. You had Hakeem Jeffries this morning on Fox News talking about how, oh, well, I don't know about that. I guess that Adam Hamawi is going to have to answer for himself. Adam Hamawi is just going to have to answer for himself. Well, the Democrats pretend like they're not aware of the fact that they have an Islamic Jihad problem. We can go ahead and we can play this clip right now for you. But what do you expect when the Democrats are campaigning with Hasan Piker, who shows up to Delaney Hall as an Islamist himself, wearing a gas mask, and then you have all of these Islamic candidates who are tied to Islamic terrorist organizations and have actually pledged allegiance. In the case of Abdul al-Sayed, he literally signed a pledge in support of the Muslim Brotherhood several years ago. What do you expect? And then you have the guy that could potentially be our next Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, denying that he has any knowledge of this. Is it any wonder why we have people in their 20s in America, young people, so-called American citizens, plotting to attack the United States of America with an ISIS terrorist attack, plotting to buy weapons to use against U.S. service members? Is it any wonder why? When we have all the receipts showing that these candidates are completely in bed with Islamic terrorist organizations, and Hakeem Jeffries, who's next in line to be Speaker of the House, is denying it and saying, well, I have no idea. There's no way that Hakeem Jeffries hasn't seen the nonstop news coverage, okay? That every single party in Congress, Republican and Democrat, they have communication staff that prepare them briefings every single day, and they let them know about possible questions that they're going to be asked, possible controversies, and they provide them with talking points. Every single day, they literally have a communications call with each other, Democrat Party leadership, Republican Party leadership, where they give them their talking points for the day. I've seen it. I've seen these calls. I have seen these talking points myself. So for Hakeem Jeffries to sit there and gaslight us on Fox News this morning and pretend like he doesn't know, well, you're not going to get a condemnation from him, because clearly that's what Fox News is trying to do. But Hakeem Jeffries just finds it easier to say, I don't really know what's going on. That's news to me. But why don't we talk about the racists in the GOP? And then people wonder why we have people plotting to join ISIS and attack Americans in a multi-state terror plot. And then we're being told that we have to negotiate with terrorists because, yeah, the same terrorists that are firing missiles into Israel right now have over 2 million of their proxies here living in the United States of America. That's what Tom Homan told me. The borders are. He told me when he came on my show that we have over 2 million Iranian proxies living in America, and they came in illegally under Joe Biden. He let in over 25 million illegal aliens into our country, and a lot of those people are Iranian proxies. So Get ready for more homegrown terror, because the more we negotiate and we don't come from a position of strength when dealing with Iranian terrorists, the more homegrown terror plots we are going to see. So let's play this clip. Again, Hakeem Jeffries this morning pretending to be totally aloof, right? Party leadership doesn't want to answer for the fact that the Democrat Party is now the party of Islamic Jihad, the party of communism, the party of pedophiles. Play the clip.
There's a question that's out there about how much your party is willing to stomach when it embraces candidates like this. I mean, Hamawi also spent a month at a Gaza hospital where the Israelis later found a tunnel that was linked directly to one of the masterminds of the October 7th attack, Sinwar. But he told a magazine that he saw no weapons there, and it was a completely benign civilian hospital with no tunnels. He also volunteered in Bosnia for a nonprofit that was later determined to be a front for al-Qaeda. Photos of bin Laden were found during the raid. You know, how much are Democrats willing to stomach at the, when they're trying to unseat Republicans in Congress? Are they willing to let their values go?
It's very interesting that you've asked me about candidates, many of whom haven't even confronted a Democratic primary yet, but haven't asked me a single question about the hatred, the xenophobia, the Islamophobia, the outright racism that we see being peddled by actual members of Congress in the Republican conference sitting in the House of Representatives right now.
Our party inspired 3 men in their 20s to join ISIS and to raise money to go fire drones and RPGs at U.S. civilians and U.S. soldiers. But you're not allowed to talk about that because you're an Islamophobe. And if you want to talk about Adam Hamawi being inside working, what the fuck? What do you even do in a hospital when you say you're working? You're working inside a hospital controlled by Hamas in Gaza, the same hospital where Sinwar was found. Please, give me a break, okay? Where the leader of Hamas was captured by the IDF. That's the hospital that you're working in several months before this terrorist was captured. Give me a break. But if we talk about this and we show receipts and we show documentation, we're called Israel first, we're called America last, and then we're also attacked as Islamophobic and xenophobic, because it's Islamophobic, you guys, it's now Islamophobic to question whether or not we should have a Muslim in Congress representing us who actually defended the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. That you're an Islamophobe, you're just a xenophobe, you're just a racist, okay? We're racist and we are just terrible people. We're a bunch of bigots, we're a bunch of anti-Muslim bigots, and we should just hang our heads in shame instead of talking about the fact that we probably shouldn't be electing people who have ties to Hamas and Al-Qaeda to go to Congress, where they're going to have access to classified information that they could then possibly leak to terror networks, right? And then people will say, you're obsessed, you're obsessed, you're obsessed. All you do is talk about Islam. Well, do you understand the threat? How do you expect to address the threat and combat the threat if you're not willing to even accept the threat or identify the threat? You're not even allowing us, Hakeem Jeffries, to talk about the threat. And then Adam Hamawi, we just played this clip on our last episode of Loomer Unleashed. You can play the clip again. He does an interview with Hasan Piker, who shows up to Delaney Hall wearing a gas mask, talking about how when he is in Congress, he's going to dismantle the United States military. You see where this is going? Adam Hamawi supports Iran. He doesn't support the United States of America. So when he gets to Congress, he wants to dismantle the United States military, he wants to dismantle ICE, and he wants to dismantle DHS. So while you have all these foreign interests whispering in Donald Trump's ear, telling him, no, don't attack Iran, you're going to be called a wartime president. This is Israel, don't attack Iran, you should tell Israel not to defend themselves. When he has all these people and all these bad actors at ODNI whispering in his ear, people around him, right, who have no understanding of Islam whatsoever, telling him not to attack Iran, just know that when the Democrats take over, they're going to have members of Congress who really seriously make a push to dismantle DHS and ban DHS as a whole. So DHS is the screening that you receive at the airport. They control the screening when you go to the airport, when you're coming in. Remember, you're coming in from abroad and you have to show your passport, right? You go through DHS. They make sure that you're allowed to come into the country. They ask you where you've been. Oh, where'd you travel to? How many days? Where'd you go? You bringing any fruits in? You bringing this? You bringing that? So imagine that. We're going to dismantle DHS. Anybody's going to be able to fly to America, come into America. We're going to dismantle Border Patrol because Border Patrol is under DHS as well. You're going to get rid of ICE. So you're going to get rid of counterterrorism. You're going to get rid of ICE. You're going to get rid of Border Patrol. And you're going to get rid of TSA and airport security, because all of that really falls under DHS. The same people who are telling Donald Trump to not attack Iran and not bomb Iran are the same people who are supporting Adam Hamawi, and the same people supporting Rashida Tlaib, and the same people supporting Ilhan Omar, and the same people supporting Abdul al-Sayed, and the same people supporting Graham Plattner, all of whom want to completely dismantle our country. So yeah, it's great, right? We're going to miss our opportunity to destroy the Islamic regime, the IRGC, and we're just going to wait for a bunch of Islamic terrorists to get elected to Congress and get elected to the Senate, and then we're going to lose control of the House and the Senate, and then they're going to impeach Donald Trump, and then we're going to get nuked by Iran because our adversaries are going to give Iran a nuclear weapon. That's basically what's going to happen unless Donald Trump attacks Iran. So you can see this all playing out, right? The agitation outside Delaney Hall. This is an Islamic movement. They not only are trying to have our country attacked by Islamic terrorists, okay? We already have these people in our country. They're not doing enough to deport these people. And then they're campaigning with Islamists who are calling for the complete dismantling of our immigration facilities and our national security facilities that conduct all of the counterterrorism in America. So where do you think this is going? Where do you think this is going? If you have a bunch of jihadists and communists in Congress who are more sympathetic to Iran than they are the United States of America, and they try to weaken our military and DHS, Donald Trump is going to miss his opportunity and his window. There's a limited window of opportunity, because if the Democrats take over, that's what they're going to do. They're going to impeach him. We only have about 5 more months left for Donald Trump to completely dismantle the IRGC and bomb the living shit out of them. We only have a few more months, because if the Democrats take over, everybody's getting impeached. They're going to make Donald Trump a lame duck president, and that's it. And our country is going to be attacked because they want to bring Americans to their knees. They want to bring Americans to their knees with fear, and that is exactly what they will do, because that is exactly what they do in Islamic regimes, and that is exactly what they do in communist countries. And this is not just me saying this. Again, listen to Adam Hamawi. He's been endorsed by the Democrat Party. Hakeem Jeffries clearly giving him a pass just now on Fox News this morning for his open support for Islamic terrorists. And then they've decided to make Hasan Piker their new golden boy, bringing him around to all the key Senate races, all the key House races, bringing him into Congress. I heard that he's going to be Mamdami's guest for the Knicks game and sitting courtside with Zoran Mamdani. Okay. Listen to what Adam Hamawi is saying, and understand that the same people who are telling Donald Trump to not attack Iran are the same people working within the woke right and the radical left to get communists and jihadists elected to Congress. This is why Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie are now partnering with Ro Khanna, who came out and supported Graham Plattner and Adam Hamawi. Do you see the op yet? Do you see what's going on? Do you see how you're being manipulated? Do you see how you're being lied to? Israel's bad. It's all Israel. No, they're creating an environment where if something really bad happens in this country, they're not going to actually blame the Democrats or the radical individuals in our country who weakened our country, who weakened our national security. They want to induce people with this form of psychosis so that if something were to happen, like a terror attack in America, they would just say, oh, it's a false flag. It's Israel. It's the Zionists. It's the Jews. They don't actually want anybody to say, no, this is a result of bad Democrat policies, open border policies, a lack of mass deportations. I mean, I'm just calling it for what it is. We've barely seen enough deportations, and they're not even deporting the right people. We need to get more deportations of these Islamic terrorists. I feel like my criticisms are fair. I'm a supporter of the president. I'm not out here saying, oh, don't support the president and calling the president a pedophile or attacking the president for bullshit reasons like the woke right is. I'm saying that we are going to find ourselves, we already are in an existential crisis and a national security crisis right now, but it's going to get even worse if the Democrats take over and they impeach Donald Trump and JD Vance. And then we have all of these terrorists and jihadi supporters, actual jihadists and communists serving in Congress, in the House and the Senate. And then Iran attacks us, because you really honestly think that the Democrats have people who are capable of making good national security decisions in support of our country? These are the same people that allowed for and justified 25 million people to come into our country in a full-blown invasion. Do you think that these people are capable of preventing nuclear war with Iran? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And these Islamists, they are playing them like a fiddle. They're playing them like a fiddle because they know that all they have to do is funnel enough money to these people, convince them that they're at bay, and then what are they going to do? They're going to attack, because they don't really give a shit at the end of the day whether or not they have people in the United States of America who are sympathetic to them, like the members of the woke right or the radical left, because, well, it's this whole concept of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and this mentality that the crocodile is going to eat you last. Well, okay, if the crocodile eats you last, you're still getting eaten by the crocodile. Do you really honestly think that you're going to be spared or that you're going to be saved? No, it's the goal of an ummah, total Islamic domination. And it doesn't matter whether you temper your language and, oh, well, I have some Muslim friends, and, oh, I condemned Laura Loomer for Islamophobia, and, I opposed Donald Trump's travel ban, and, I advocated for Islamic interests. You are not going to be spared in the end. You're not. People need to wake up. They need to understand that, yes, we have a red-green alliance right now, the alliance between the radical left and the Islamists, and you can clearly see this be played out in the way that Hasan Piker is utilized as a popular Islamic communist streamer, and the way that he's being used to boost the profile of a lot of these candidates that find themselves within this red-green alliance coalition. But eventually those people are going to battle it out as well. Okay, it's a supremacist ideology, and a supremacist ideology isn't going to exist in a duality, right? It's a duality right now. You have this red-green alliance, as I said, but does anybody think about what's going to happen when they are successful in taking down America and having their communist takeover of America? Do you think that the Islamists are just going to share power with the communists? No. It's a supremacist ideology. So again, they can think in the end that they're going to unite with these people and that everything's going to be great, but their goal is total global Islamic domination. And look at what happened to the UK. I give us 3 years. I think if things don't start to be course corrected immediately, and we don't take action against these Iranians, and we continue to allow for all of this unregistered foreign Islamic lobbying to destroy our country, and they don't have far enforcement, I give us 3 years before we're basically like the UK, just completely taken over. So watch this clip. Again, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. Adam Hamawi wants to dismantle DHS, wants to dismantle ICE, wants to destroy our military. Well, how are we going to fend off an attack from Iran if we don't have a military? I mean, it might sound crazy, like, oh, we're never going to get to a point where we don't have a U.S. military. Well, what if we keep on having every single election cycle 5 or 6 more of these communist jihadist candidates get elected to the United States Congress? They will eventually completely dismantle and kneecap our Department of War. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
This is a question that I ask every candidate that comes on the broadcast, is the Zoran method. What are your top 5 policies that you want to be defined by?
So, I talk about healthcare, not bombs. I talk about abolish ICE and to unrig the economy, but let's unpack that. So healthcare, not bombs means Medicare for all, and not bombs means we need to address our foreign policy, and we need to look at the military industrial complex, take it apart, and really see what we need. We are spending $1 trillion, on our defense / Department of War / Department of War crimes now. And what we need to do is spend that in healthcare and spend it in education. We need to abolish ICE. And so not only do we need to, abolish it, but we need to dismantle the DHS completely. So I want to go further because
this is a question that I ask every candidate that comes on the broadcast, is the Zoran method. What are your top 5 policies that you want to be defined by?
So, I talk about healthcare, not bombs. I talk about abolish ICE and to unrig the economy, but let's unpack that. So healthcare, not bombs means Medicare for all, and not bombs means we need to address our foreign policy and we need to look at the military industrial complex, take it apart and really see what we need. We are spending $1 trillion, on our defense / Department of War / Department of War crimes now. And, what we need to do is spend that in healthcare and spend it in education. We need to abolish ICE. And so not only do we need to, abolish it, but we need to dismantle the DHS completely. So I want to go further because.
Yeah, I was friends with the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and I was working as a plastic surgeon in the hospital where they captured the leader of Hamas. And listen to me, you silly Americans. We just need more health care. We have a military that is too big and too strong, and we just can't allow for the United States of America to be able to protect itself from threats of Islamic terrorism. We need more 9/11s, you guys. That's what we need. We need more Muslims flying planes into buildings and killing Americans. That's what we need. We need to have more Americans get held hostage by Hamas in the tunnels. The tunnels that were underneath the hospital where I was working in Gaza as a doctor. I mean, how do people listen to this and not understand what they're doing? Dismantle DHS? Do you understand what that means to dismantle DHS? No more Border Patrol. No more ICE. No more checking passports at the airport. No more any of that. No more any of that. So if you want your country to basically have another 9/11 on steroids, then sure, I guess you would support this. But I don't want any Muslims serving in Congress, period, let alone Muslims dictating me that we need to. Let's just have no more airport security, you guys. Let's just let more Muslims with box cutters or bombs onto airplanes because, not enough Americans died on 9/11. 3,000 Americans burning to death wasn't enough. We gotta multiply that number by 10. We gotta multiply that number by 10, inshallah. People better wake up. They better wake up. Let's go ahead and play this clip of Hasan Piker wearing a gas mask and instigating hostilities outside of Delaney Hall, which is, of course, this ICE facility where a lot of members of Congress have tried to instigate radical left violence, domestic terrorism. And this is what their strategy is. They want to incite violence against ICE agents. And you had a member of Congress, LaMonica MacGyver, I don't even know what her name is. Monica, that woman from New Jersey, that congresswoman from New Jersey who we confronted with a bizarre name. LaMonica, I believe. LaMonica is her name. The congresswoman LaMonica MacGyver, that's her name. I got it right. She's such a bizarre name. LaMonica MacGyver, New Jersey. She was the representative who assaulted the ICE agent. Remember that? We confronted her, of course, no remorse whatsoever for attacking ICE agents. This is what the Democrats want. They want to utilize this unruly Islamic insurrectionist force, and they mobilize these people at ICE facilities. They mobilize them throughout the country. And is it any wonder why we have homegrown terrorists and people in their 20s who are now plotting ISIS attacks on U.S. soil and plotting to attack U.S. service members? I wouldn't be surprised if you found out that these 3 men who were arrested for trying to join ISIS, if they weren't viewers of Hasan Piker. Wouldn't be surprised, right? His target audience, his main audience are men in their 20s. I would not be surprised. But let's go ahead and play this clip.
Institutions that are doing this violence feel a sense of accountability. And they change that's a political philosophy, right? That's what it says. I thought you knew what I was saying.
They getting him out of there. He just got something just happened, bro. Something just happened. Be careful. I just seen a nigga bust his ass right there. Wait, what happened? What happened that quick? What happened?
He's a fucking fraud. He don't know what the fuck he's talking about. People following him because he got money.
Yeah.
Look at him running. You don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Fuck Twitch. They get out of here with them view bots. You view botting pussy. The fuck out of here, you view botting bitch. The fuck out of here, nigga. Go back to your desktop, you dog abuser. You fucking dog abuser. You abuse dogs, huh? You fucking bitch. You abuse dogs, right? How about we abuse you? You fucking punk. You abuse dogs. Word. What's up? What's up? You abuse dogs too? What's up? You fucking dog abuser, get the fuck out of my shit. Fuck out of here. Fuck Twitch. Go suck Dan Clancy dick. Punk, yeah, I ain't talking to you. Respect women, queen. I will never disrespect you, queen. Stay in your lane. This for my people right here. I don't even know this nigga. This is my people. Fuck you. Fuck Twitch. You dog abusing bitch. Yeah, you dog abuser. Yeah. You abuse dogs, right? You think that's sexy? You think that's sexy? You think don't touch me. You think abusing dogs is sexy? You think abusing dogs is sexy? You think abusing dogs is sexy, you weird ass bitch? What's up?
It's not just him.
Okay, so fuck him then. Fuck him then. Why you walking with him if he did it? Why you walking with him if he abused his dog? Why you walking with him if he abused his dog? So if you condone that, fuck you too. Okay, come on. Come on. Yeah, we can run. Let's run. Let's run, baby. I like running. Let's run. Let's run. Let's run. I like your red hair. That's nice. Yo, you abuse dogs, you fucking weirdo. You abuse dogs, you weirdo. Fuck Twitch. Don't touch me.
I didn't touch shit.
Get shit. Yo, you smell like shit though. Back up. You do. Fuck Twitch. Fuck Twitch and fuck you. Fuck Twitch and fuck you. You fucking view botter. Yo, you abuse your dog? That's crazy, bro. Yo, your dog got a shot collar?
What you angry about?
Your dog got a shot collar?
Get the fuck out of here.
What, you gonna hit me?
What are you angry? No, I'm not gonna hit you.
Okay, so what? I'm in public though.
Wait, can you tell me about
Freedom of speech.
Yeah,
He's a dog abuser. He's a
views,
dog
you got
abuser. He's a dog abuser. Why are you condoning a dog abuser? Fuck Twitch. You abuse your dog.
He's right. And you see how Hasan Piker has an entourage of keffiyeh wearing radicals, hijabi women, Adam Hamawi. Hasan Piker isn't just a jihadist and a communist who has openly called for violence against President Trump and conservatives and has celebrated Luigi Mangione. He's a dog abuser too. Everybody knows he abused his dog. He was caught on camera using a shot collar on his dog. Everybody knows Hasan Piker is an animal abuser, in addition to being a jihadist, but that is an Islamic quality. And Islamic quality is animal abuse. These people believe that it is okay to, murder animals. Have you ever seen the practice of halal? I mean, these people do not have respect for any animals. So again, it's not just about the support for Islamic terrorist organizations or individuals who were involved in Islamic plots against the United States of America. These people have a massive cultural difference from us as well. And again, we are going to be worse off than the United Kingdom in 3 years if this doesn't start to be addressed immediately. I mean, don't think that you heard this guy screaming, and I know, somewhat vulgar, but you get past the expletives and all of the F words. He calls him a view bot. Isn't it obvious to everybody now that all these people are basically just being propped up with bots? Isn't it obvious to everybody that all these people never used to get this amount of views and this amount of traction online, and now they're all getting botted by foreign interests that are trying to create and sow discord in America? Even Elon Musk has confirmed this online. So I don't really see how much longer this can continue. We are at a point of extreme division in this country right now because not enough has been done to crack down on the communist and Islamic effort to flood our country and flood our politics with foreign interference. And now we're pretending like we're going to negotiate with terrorists. Yeah, we're going to negotiate with Islamic terrorists, you guys. It's an Islamic movement. I mean, this is a full-blown Islamic effort to destabilize our country and dismantle DHS so that the Iranians can eventually attack America and murder millions of Americans. Let's go ahead and get the clip up of Abdul al-Sayed, a Muslim candidate for governor, or excuse me, he ran for governor of Michigan in 2018, and now he's running for Senate in Michigan. He'll probably be the Democrat nominee. He'll probably win as well, because I really haven't seen Mike Rogers do much. So I'm just being honest. Like, we're probably going to have a jihadi senator now who pledged allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood and is on video saying Muslims hate you, from my previous reporting. So look at him. Look at him outside of Delaney Hall. We need to abolish ICE. All these Muslims are running for office for one reason: to dismantle DHS and abolish ICE and have open borders so that our country can be flooded with Islamic terrorists and eventually attacked, so Americans are brought to their knees. Don't you find it a little weird that all of the Muslims running for office have the same talking points? Abolish DHS, abolish ICE. Why would you want to abolish ICE and abolish DHS if you're a Muslim? I can think of a few reasons. Maybe you in the chat can think of a few reasons as well. Can our lawmakers and people who work for the president not think of a few reasons? Isn't this obvious? Like, shouldn't this be obvious to people by now? Like, why is Abdul al-Sayed outside of Delaney Hall saying we need to abolish ICE? Why is Adam Hamawi outside of Delaney Hall saying that we need to abolish ICE and dismantle the military and DHS the same week that the DOJ and the FBI uncovered a terror plot where ISIS terrorists were plotting to kill Americans and U.S. troops? So basically, we're not going to have an agency that is going to be able to handle dealing with these threats? Is that what they're saying? They want the agency that is responsible for dealing with Islamic terrorism on U.S. soil to be dismantled? Like, do I have to really spoon feed people this information and feed them like they're a baby? Do I really have to break it down in such simpleton terms for people to understand what's going on here? Is it not obvious? I mean, how is this not obvious? I get insults hurled at me every single day. People lying about me, smearing me, saying nasty shit about me, saying I'm Israel first, attacking my appearance, attacking everything about me, making up lies, attacking my family, attacking everybody, right? And I'm just speaking the truth here. I really just do not understand how this could be any more obvious. Could this be any more obvious? You have these jihadists out there with ties to terrorists saying abolish ICE and get rid of DHS. Why would you want to get rid of all counterterrorism efforts in America? I mean, I guess we'll transition now to the AMA for 20 minutes or so, but is this not the most obvious op you've ever seen in your life? Let's go ahead. Let's play this clip of Abdul.
Well, look, I've been saying we ought to abolish ICE since 2018, right? You could have seen where this is all headed. And if anybody like Donald Trump ever came to power again, you knew what they were going to use it for. This is an agency that is fundamentally unaccountable. These are private prison operators that donate to politicians that when they get elected, they know they're going to be rewarded with handsome contracts. And this is where this all goes. So, my experience is standing up to them. And look, I had to rebuild a juvenile detention facility in Wayne County when I was health director in Wayne County. The health director should never have to do that. But it was because of a failure of a whole system, right? And I just want folks to understand that, like, people making money off of incarcerating other people should not be a thing that happens in the United States of America. It's wrong. It's not how this should work. We've got to really rethink whether or not we think any of this should be legal, any of this should be operable, and the responsibility when people are incarcerated to make sure that they have the health care that they need, they have the food that they need, they have the bedding that they need, they have clean clothes, they have access to their legal representation. That is sacrosanct in this country. And that is being denied here. It's wrong. It shouldn't be denied anywhere, particularly when you're talking about folks who don't have the ability to even not eat in protest of the way they're treated. None of this is moral. None of this should be legal.
He ran for office in 2018 as governor, and he said, and I know because I tracked him in 2018 when I flew to Michigan to expose him, I've been trying to abolish ICE since 2018. Again, why is a Muslim with Egyptian parents who pledged allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood, a designated Islamic terrorist organization, trying to abolish agents responsible for picking up Islamic terrorists, violent criminals, and illegal aliens. Ask yourself this. Why is there such a movement to get Muslims elected to Congress who want to abolish ICE and get rid of DHS as an agency altogether? Not just abolish ICE. We went from abolishing ICE to now abolishing DHS to abolishing the military-industrial complex. You see where this is going, don't you? You see that they're trying to disarm America so that our adversaries can attack us and completely conquer us. But I guess you're just an Islamophobe if you notice. Not allowed to have all that noticing. Too much noticing going on. All right, let's transition to the questions now. If you have questions, put them in the chat. Laura, please address the conversation between, actually, we have one more clip. I forgot. One more clip. We confronted Rashida Tlaib, another Muslim, right? Just so that you can see the pattern. Adam Hamawi, Hasan Piker, Abdullah Al-Sayed, and Rashida Tlaib. And then I promise we'll get to questions. Rashida Tlaib was asked about this by Looper Unleashed DC correspondent Charles Downs. And she asked him about this, like, how is it a peaceful protest if Hasan Piker is showing up with a gas mask? I've never gone to a peaceful protest with a gas mask before. I would say that if you're going to a protest with a gas mask, you are either planning on using smoke bombs or pepper spray or engaging in some kind of violent behavior. Because I've been to a lot of protests, and I'll tell you right now, I've never, ever worn a gas mask to a protest. And I've been to some pretty rowdy protests over the last 12 years. So let's go ahead and play this clip.
About your friend Hasan Piker.
Yeah, why do you guys pick on?
Because he was at New Jersey the other day, Delaney Hall, and he was walking around with a gas mask before riots.
Oh.
Will you condemn him for doing that?
Because he was protecting himself from being tear gassed?
I mean, I don't...
ICE tear gases, right?
Yeah, after people start rioting, not just before.
No, people tear gas all the time. People literally do that when they know they're about to be tear gassed.
Do you think
So
wearing a
I
gas
think he was
mask at a
trying to
peaceful
protect
protest
himself.
is peaceful?
Who wants to be tear gassed?
Thank you.
Yeah, ICE only tear gases people when they're throwing rocks at them or they are acting violent. They don't just tear gas people to tear gas people for fun. But again, another Muslim. Okay, so you have another Muslim trying to justify people being violent and encouraging violence towards ICE agents. So I think I've given enough evidence and enough examples, maybe, just maybe, it's not such a great idea to allow for Muslims to be involved in our political process in America. Maybe. But I guess, I don't know, maybe we need another 9/11 because I guess those clips right there and those people in their own words isn't going to be enough to convince the Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries on Fox News this morning. I don't know. I have no idea what Adam Hamawi's up to. I don't know anything about the Hamas tunnels in Gaza. I don't know anything about the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. You're literally the fucking representative in New York City. You don't know? You don't know that a guy who is trying to get elected right across the bridge in New Jersey is tied to the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing? You don't know? I find that very hard to believe. I find it very hard to believe because obviously it's a lie. Obviously. Because, come on, this guy is in line to be the next Speaker of the House. He doesn't know. Give me a break. But you just see how brazenly they lie. And Jackie Heinrich, who, nothing special, right? Married to a rhino in Congress. Always been a Trump hater. She just sits there. I mean, I'll give her credit for asking the question, but she just sits there and goes, okay, next question. Like, why do they even why do they ask the questions if they're not going to push back on the questions when they give them some bullshit answer? If I ask somebody who was next in line to be the Speaker of the House how they could allow for somebody with ties to actual Islamic terrorists to be a member of Congress in the Democrat Party and whether they were concerned, and they responded to me by saying, but what about the Islamophobes in the GOP? I wouldn't let the interview continue until they answered my question. I would say, answer the question. No, I specifically asked you this question. I would not let them get away with dodging a question, but that's why I'm not allowed on TV. That's why they have me blacklisted on Fox News, on Newsmax, on CNN, on MSNBC. And that's why, even though I have incredible political access, you're never going to see me on TV because, well, they don't want people on TV who actually push back and people who are actually asking questions that the American people want answers to instead of just, yeah, oh, well, it's so great to see you today, Hakeem. I can't wait to have you back on the show. Like, that's me watching that, right? Like, I'm like, my mind's just like exploding. I'm sitting there like, wow, my head just literally blew up. My brain just blew up watching that because, first of all, it's like the most low IQ shit ever. And I feel like my brain has like a bomb going off inside of it and I'm just losing brain cells while watching this stupid interview. But then when I see her say, oh, it's so great to see you, I can't wait to have you back on my show, it's like my whole head just explodes. And I'm like, this isn't real life, is it? Because if the Democrats take over, this is going to be our future, right? We're going to be watching so-called conservative Fox News thank Hakeem Jeffries for coming on the program and running cover for an Islamic jihadist. So it makes my head just absolutely explode. I don't know how you guys feel, but I had to just walk away from the TV after that because that's my dose of crazy for the day. Can't take any more. All right. Let's go to the chat. Put your questions in the chat. Laura, please address the phone call between President Trump and Netanyahu. Trump wasn't happy with his thoughts. Look, I guess the president did say, quote, you are effing crazy. And that's his right to say that. Obviously, I support President Trump. President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu are going to have these conversations. They're world leaders. But what I find, I'm not going to criticize President Trump for saying what he said. What I am going to criticize, though, are the people who work for President Trump who are shamelessly leaking his phone calls to the media. It's totally inappropriate. And regardless of whether or not Donald Trump told Netanyahu to fuck off or whether he said you are, quote, fucking crazy, which is what the media said, according to these reports. And you can pull these reports up. And I mean, it's all over the news, right? Trump said Netanyahu is fucking crazy. Okay, like maybe he said it. I guess he said it. I don't know. I wasn't in the room. But he admitted to it. Trump confirms he calls Netanyahu crazy in phone call. Okay, he admits to it. That's President Trump's private phone call. What people should be more concerned about is that people with that kind of access to Donald Trump are leaking to the hostile media. Because if they're leaking these private phone calls, what else are they leaking? How do we know they're not leaking potential plans to deal with Iran to the media or to Iranian agents or foreign operatives? Why are people in the Oval Office leaking? Are they going to do lie detector tests on these people to find out who's leaking these stories? That's what I'm more concerned about, not really the tit for tat between President Trump and Netanyahu. I'm not here to do PR for Bibi Netanyahu, right? I'm an American citizen. But I will just say that, look, if it's true, it's true. Kind of unfortunate that people are trying to create this type of tension by leaking the president's conversations. But again, personnel is policy. And I've said from day one that the president has a lot of bad people who work for him. Not all of them, but look, I think that I've shown enough receipts to show that vetting in this administration isn't exactly a thing. I mean, I don't want to sound disrespectful when I say that because I have a lot of respect for President Trump and a lot of the people who work for him. But hiring wasn't really ever their strong suit during the first term, and it's certainly not their strong suit during the second term either, but whatever. What's your take on our Congress trying to limit his war powers? Well, I just showed you. They have jihadists and communists in Congress right now who clearly don't seem to give a shit that the Russians and our adversaries are threatening to sell nuclear weapons to Iran so that they can attack us. They want to kneecap Donald Trump because they hate Trump more than they love America. And they're not really going to care when we have another Islamic terrorist attack in America. So it's atrocious. They shouldn't be trying to limit President Trump's ability to go to war with the IRGC. Because as I said before, you either kill or be killed. And when the Democrats are in control of the House and the Senate, and maybe we have a radical Democrat or a communist or a jihadist in the White House as president, we already had our first jihadist Muslim communist president with Barack Hussein Obama. Just imagine all of the violence and the national security threats and the homegrown terror that we're going to have in our country we're already seeing some of this under the Trump administration. I just showed you the terror plot that was organized and thwarted by the Trump DOJ. Do you really honestly think that Democrats are going to be investing resources into cracking down on jihadists when they think that, this is our voting base? We're not going to go after these people. No. So by trying to limit President Trump's war powers, they are setting us up for more future 9/11s. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And people don't want to listen. They're not going to listen. But that is what's going to happen. Laura, why don't you talk to President Trump and reiterate the truth? Occasionally I speak to the president, but look, I don't work for him. I don't work for the Department of War. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here to just say, oh, go strike Iran, go strike Iran. Like, there are people in our government who are in actual positions of power to be having those conversations with the president. I can certainly share my opinion with the president, and I'm sure other people have shared their opinion as well, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to be the end all deciding factor. So yeah, I can certainly express my opinion, and I've expressed my opinion about this with people in the White House, and I've certainly expressed my opinion about this in the past with the president. I've expressed my opinion about Qatar with the president. I've expressed my opinion about the Muslim Brotherhood and Mamdani and the growing Islamic threat. I've had these conversations with the president, but ultimately the president is going to do what the president is going to do. Nobody can control Donald Trump, and anybody who thinks that they can control the president, they are living on another planet, because nobody controls Donald Trump. Donald Trump controls Donald Trump. And he certainly listens to people's opinions, but I don't know what the president's going to do. But the people who are telling him that you can negotiate with terrorists are, in my opinion, sorely misleading him. That's my opinion. But of course, I still support the president. I just am a little disappointed that we're, allowing these jihadists to kind of control the situation. And I don't know, they're kind of making a mockery of the United States of America. That's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I still support the president. I just would really like us to kill as many Islamic terrorists as possible while Donald Trump is in office, because I don't really see this new halal right faction or woke right faction of the GOP. They're not even really GOP. They've always been National Socialists LARPing as conservatives. They're not really conservatives. They're telling people to vote Democrat. But I really just don't want to see this faction telling people to vote Democrat. But I really just don't want to see this faction. Before how Tulsi Gabbard allowed for DNI to just become a hotbed of Iranian operatives and anti-Semites and leakers and Islamo-communist sympathizers. Who's getting his intel from? Tulsi Gabbard said her husband has cancer. Just go take care of your fucking husband. Like, just go, right? I don't get it. I have sympathy. I don't want her husband to die from cancer. I have sympathy, but who stays at DNI when your husband has cancer? Just go. We're hearing about all this stuff like, oh, Donald Trump just nominated Bill Pulte. He's going to be acting DNI. No, he's not. In what world? I like Bill Pulte. He's a friend of mine. But in what world is he the acting DNI when Tulsi Gabbard is still there until June 30th? Why are we gaslighting people? Why are we making people think like Bill Pulte is going to be in there when already enough Republicans and Democrats have said that they're not going to support him? He's not going to get Senate confirmed. I like him. He's a great guy. But why are we pretending like Bill Pulte has the power to fire people at DNI or OGNI when Tulsi Gabbard is still there? Just go take care of your husband. He's sick. Everybody understands. Just go. No one's going to hold it against you. Just leave. The president already said that you can leave. Just leave. But now we have to deal with Tulsi's people in there for another 30 days, and you can expect a lot of sabotage. I mean, I wouldn't doubt for 1 second that the story that just came out yesterday about how, Israel, U.S. officials are worried that Israel is spying on the White House. First of all, the White House denied that story, and Israel also denied that story. Who do you think spread that rumor? I wonder. Who in our intel community has hatred towards Donald Trump and hatred towards the fact that Donald Trump stands with Israel? Who's going to benefit from sowing discord about leaking lies that Susie Wiles is leaving the Trump administration, and that at the same time that they're lying about Susie Wiles, they're also going to say that Israel's spying on the Trump administration? First of all, the White House denied all of it. Susie's not leaving. Israel's not spying on the United States. So I think it's all coming out of Tulsi Gabbard's office, personally. Yes, both the White House and the Israeli embassy vehemently denied reports that Israel was spying on senior U.S. government officials, okay? And then NBC News releases this bullshit story. Pentagon raised threat of Israeli spying on U.S. to the highest levels. U.S. sources dismiss Pentagon leak alleging Israeli spying. You can click on this, the Jerusalem Post. You can go to all these different news sites, right? Here's one from Jerusalem Post. U.S. sources dismiss Pentagon leak alleging Israeli spying as anti-war pushback. You can find other headlines as well. So clearly somebody is leaking this information. You can go back actually to the previous page, that Al Jazeera. Scroll up. Why has the Pentagon assessed the threat of Israeli espionage as critical? So, of course, Al Jazeera is owned by Qatar. Of course, Qatar is amplifying this lie that Israeli officials are spying on senior White House officials. Okay, you see the op in real time. You have to understand who owns all these publications, I guess, to see the op happening in real time. Of course, the Qataris, right? And they'll say, "Oh, but the Qataris are helping us. They're helping us. We have our military base there. They're helping us in the fight against Iran." Are they? No. Are they helping us? Not really, right? Because at the end of the day, Islam is Islam. All these people, they're very tribalistic. They stick with each other. The Muslims stick with each other because it doesn't matter what country they're from. At the end of the day, their ultimate goal is total global Islamic domination. So that doesn't really look like you're helping the United States by pushing out lies in the middle of a so-called negotiation. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. This is the Qataris pushing out Iranian propaganda. The only person this benefits to say, "Oh, wow, Israel's spying on the U.S. in the middle of these negotiations." The only person that helps by spewing that propaganda are the Iranians. That's the only people it helps right now, is the Iranians. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. What happened to Alex Jones? I used to like him, but now it's nonstop Israel, Levin, Shapiro, Mossad. Israel derangement syndrome. Israel derangement syndrome. That's all he talks about now. So who knows? I think it's just Israel derangement syndrome. How's being engaged, Ben? I know that's life-changing. How are your dogs? Dogs are doing great. Dogs are doing great. And life is good. We just got back from an Alaskan cruise. We had a really nice time. And it's really nice having somebody in your life who you get to share your life with and somebody who believes in your mission and your cause. And so I'm really loving it, really enjoying it. But, you know, some people will say, "Oh, I wish you talk about it more." I can't really talk about it more because I get so many threats. And then I have people out there saying my relationship is fake and, "Oh, he's actually just a handler. He's a handler who's been assigned by the United States government." Like, I don't like really talking about my personal life because my personal life then gets used as something that people use to attack me with, and they lie and they try to ruin everything. They try to ruin the wedding process. They try to ruin my engagement. They just try to ruin everything. And it's just gotten to a point where, like, I don't even like talking about my personal life anymore. As a young woman, I can't even like be a normal young woman and talk about what it's like to plan a wedding or post engagement photos because every aspect of my life is just used against me. And it's just like too much stress to have to deal with, like everybody just trying to nitpick and harass me, harass my family, lie about me, lie about my family. So I just don't even talk about it anymore. It's just whatever. Just pointless. You're right. I've accepted that this is my life. And unfortunately, because of the work that I do, people are just going to try to constantly harass me, harass my family, my loved ones. And there's just no point. I don't encourage people to post photos of themselves, photos of their marriage, photos of their family, even photos of their kids online. I am vehemently against that. And I certainly won't be doing that as well. So as I start my own family, I just hope people will understand and respect. I won't be posting any families of my husband or my future kids or my life online anymore because I just get harassed too much. And I personally think that it's a security threat to do so. I think there's a lot of really weird, creepy people online. There's people harassing me on my cruise this last week when I went to Alaska, taking photos of me, trying to like analyze, "Oh, wow, she's like looking at something on her phone and you know, he's standing right there and they're setting up chairs, and, you know, then Candace Owens tries to lie and say, oh, well, her relationship's fake, and oh, you don't look so happy in your relationship. Every little aspect gets analyzed, and I just find it to be so weird. I don't even understand why people post photos of their kids or their husband or their wife or their family online, because it's just so weird. Like, I don't need random strangers online, like, analyzing my life or analyzing my body language or analyzing whatever. I find it to be so bizarre and intrusive. And I don't know, I just strongly believe in keeping my professional life and my work life totally separate from my personal life. And I appreciate people asking and showing interest in it, but I don't know. I have no desire to share it with the world. I just don't. I just find it to be very weird how, everything is just like weaponized, right? You can't even like celebrate an engagement or a marriage or anything without, you know, oh, this and this and that. Like, I'm tired of listening to everybody chime in on my life. It's just so crazy. Let's go to the chat. Hopefully people understand. I mean, I just find it to be a little over the top. And also, too, people like want to post so many photos of their families online to pretend like they have such a happy family life, or, oh, they have such a great marriage, and everything's just so fake anyway. And when you post photos of your kids online, there's pedophiles online. Like, pedophiles could literally be jerking off to photos of your kids. Like, I'm not trying to scare any of you, but like, this happens out there, right? Like, people have sick, weird fantasies about children. There's pedophiles out there. They could target your family members. They could target you. They could target your spouse. They could target your children. I don't know why people put so much information or so many photos out there about their spouses or their kids. I find it to be very weird and cringy when people post photos of their minor children on the internet, and also photos of their very personal, intimate family events or family vacations or just any of that stuff. It's supposed to be personal. I don't know. The internet these days has just become so intrusive. So I think people should try to keep their families protected from random people online. Let's see, scroll up. A couple more questions. You can't survive in politics for 40 years unless you are part of the corrupt machine. No, Susie Wiles is not corrupt. This is a woman who is dedicated to President Trump, and she's dedicated to our country. So many people attack Susie. She has cancer right now, and she's still working. She could easily leave, but she's staying, and she's fighting, and she's working, even while she undergoes chemotherapy. So I'm just overall the nasty attacks on Susie Wiles. I find her to be a very honorable and kind and dedicated woman. I have a lot of respect for Susie Wiles. Let's see. The Dems and the woke right are being used by Islam. Why don't they see it? We voted for Trump to do his job, not so we could tell him how to do his job. Yeah, look, like I said, President Trump is going to do what he does. We're simply voicing our opinion. So I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum like a lot of these people in the woke right who then completely turned on Trump. Am I happy with how this Iran situation is playing out? No, I'm not. I'm not really happy with how the Middle Eastern policy of this administration is playing out, but I still fully support the president. I believe that he has the best interests of our country in mind, and I'm hoping that there can be a course correction soon. But no, I don't think we should be negotiating with Iranian terrorists. I think that we should be obliterating them. So why has Trump and all of Congress, except a handful of them, stopped talking about mass deportations we were promised and voted for? Well, as I just said before, we need to be focused more on mass deportations. I don't really see Mark Wayne Mullen talking about this. He's the new DHS secretary. But again, this is a guy who traveled to Qatar in the middle of the year for New Year's. And as I said before, the people who need to be prioritized for deportation and denaturalization in our country isn't Maria and Juan, the toilet cleaners or the landscapers. They don't belong in our country either. However, I think that we can agree that they pose less of a threat than the Islamic jihadists who are actually plotting ISIS terror attacks like the ones that I just showed you several minutes ago on U.S. soil. So they need to start prioritizing, because we have 100 million people that qualify for deportation in this country, and we're not getting 100 million deportations by the end of this administration. When are you going to look into what's going on in Lake Tahoe, the data centers, and people having to leave? I've been talking about data centers, but also, too, there's now a new, as I just posted the other day, there's been a congressional investigation announced into CCP funding for propaganda to oppose data centers in the United States by pushing out fabricated stories. I'm not saying what's happening in Tahoe is fabricated, right? I'll look more into that. But there is now an investigation. The Free Beacon actually just had a report about this, and foreign donors are fueling U.S. data center opposition, records show. So don't believe everything that you see online, because apparently there's been a lot of foreign money going into opposing data centers, because China wants us to have weakened infrastructure here in the United States so that they are able to have technological and AI dominance over the United States. So again, don't believe everything that you see online. We'll take two more questions. Laura, you're right. Can't negotiate with Islamic terrorists. If Trump keeps pushing Iran talks away, what red lines or max pressure should he use instead? Well, I personally think the only way that we already have sanctions, right? The only thing that we can really do to apply more pressure is to attack. We have to start killing off the IRGC and allow for the Iranian people to be in a position to take over their country. And also, President Trump promised the Iranian people this. He did say help was on the way. So, he did make a promise to these Iranian people that help was going to be on the way. And I think that, that's not necessarily regime change. You're allowing for the Iranian people to take matters into their own hands and have regime change if they want it. I don't think that that's U.S.-led regime change, but if they're going to continue attacking us like they've been attacking us for the last 47 years, then yes, we need to take action now, because it's now or never. We're not going to have any president in the future who's going to be as anti-Islamic terror or as pro-Israel. And when they say, oh, well, why does it matter if we have a president who's pro-Israel? Because Israel is key to our strategy in the Middle East. They are, and they're key to our national security and just overall security in the Middle East. And so we have our own assets in Israel. We have assets all throughout the Middle East, but they're on the front lines. They're on the front lines, right? The only democracy in the Middle East. And the Israelis are on the front lines, sharing intelligence with us and combating actual threats of Islamic Jihad before those threats make their way to the United States and Europe. But this is apparently a concept that is very hard for a portion of our population to understand. They don't get it, right? I call it Israel derangement syndrome. They're probably never going to understand it, but whatever. You can't really beat a dead horse, right? Can't really beat a dead horse. When are they going to go into Mexico and arrest narco politicians and Obrador and Shinahan and Ilhan Omar? When will she get deported? Yeah, look, I agree. I think that we should have done drone strikes on all the cartels in Mexico, but Scheinbaum said no. Ilhan Omar should be deported. She committed immigration fraud. She's another jihadist. And yeah, with the Indians and Muslims, when will they be deported and put an end to birthright illegals? We have a lot of illegal aliens. There's a lot of H-1B abuse by all types of people. Hispanics, Indians, Muslims. As I said before, the number of people who qualify for deportation, whether it be visa abuse, overextended visas, or being illegal aliens, or just any type of visa violation altogether, the number is 100 million people. 100 million people. So I don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm sure advocating for it. I really am. So I really just kind of want this to be over with. I want the Trump administration to put an end to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and I want these Iranian terrorists to stop threatening us once and for all. And I want to be able to go to bed with peace of mind, knowing that if we have another president after Donald Trump, we're not going to die in a nuclear holocaust because our government was too hesitant to attack and dismantle the IRGC when they had the chance. So that's about it. But thanks for all your questions tonight. I will be returning for another episode of Loomer Unleashed on Tuesday. If you like the AMA, let me know in the chat. Also, be sure to contact the Loomer tip line. I always like hearing your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this AMA on the show tonight, we can certainly do this more on Loomer Unleashed. I always like hearing your questions and answering your questions. You can contact the Loomer tip line with a tip or a comment or just, any kind of information. It's always anonymous if you want to be anonymous on the tip line by going to loomers.com, clicking the tip line. You can support my work by clicking the donate button on my website right there. And be sure that you click on the homepage of the website, loomer.com, because every single day, every single week, we're publishing exclusive reports with information that pertains to our national security and stories that you need to know about, should know about. The media is not covering a lot of election coverage. And also, just so all of you are aware, let's go ahead and get this tweet pulled up on the screen. We have primary elections coming up. We got all the states pulled up right now for Tuesday. If you live in Maine, Nevada, North Dakota, or South Carolina, those states are holding primary elections on Tuesday, June 9th. So be sure that if you live in either of those states that you mark your calendar and you make a plan to vote. I just sent the tweet to my producer. We'll get this pulled up on the screen here. Maine, Nevada, North Dakota, and South Carolina, again, holding primary elections on Tuesday, June 9th. So make sure that you get out and you vote, make a plan to vote against the rhinos, vote against the woke Reich, and vote against the jihadis, right? I don't know if you're a Democrat watching, you're a Republican watching, maybe your state has a closed primary, or maybe your state has an open primary. But again, these are the states that elections are taking place in on this Tuesday. So 2 days from now, be sure that you get out and you vote. We need to make sure that the right candidates are heading to the general election so that we can keep the House and keep the Senate and not have this red-green alliance takeover of the United States of America. With that, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I appreciate it. As always, be sure that you're following me on Rumble, rumble.com/LauraLoomer. Download the Rumble app, enable notifications on your phone, click the green follow button. You'll never miss an episode when I go live. And also be sure that you're following me on X at Laura Loomer and on X at Loomer Unleashed. And also be sure that you subscribe to my X account if you would like to support my work with a contribution every single month, because we are an independent publication and broadcast here at Loomer Unleashed. With that, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And if you live in any of those states, happy election day on Tuesday and get out and vote. I'll see you on Tuesday for another live episode of Loomer Unleashed. Have a great evening.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems will be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chained herself to
She
Twitter.
chained herself.